What is the world's most evil company and why?
I don't like Manulife Financial after I spent a few months being a pregnancy relief receptionist at death and disability claims in the 90s. It was not good. Everything you might suspect about insurance is true. It's ugly and vile and inhuman and absurd. When I left it was before my contract was up, with a stolen file, and with a threat to the manager that if this dude, whose file I'd pilfered, didn't call me with the news money was in his account by 7 p.m., I'd take all of this poo to the media. John, I'll always remember you. The accident that destroyed your wrist in the mine. The one that was covered. The helicopter ride to the local major metropolitan hospital to fix it. The car accident with a moose 2 months later that bent the metal pins to a 90 degrees angle. And the fact MF said they wouldn't cover this new helicopter ride because they'd already paid for a helicopter ride. The part where we forced you to prove you were disabled every month for $75 a pop. Until we changed the number on the form and didn't let you know. And you called a 55-year miner weeping because his 16-year daughter stopped eating lunch and you didn't have another $75. You'd filled out the form we sent you, but it was wrong before it arrived. So you called and said you were headed out to the woodshack and would just take the F-in handoff at the wrist. So I did what I did. And you had the disability payment you had bought and were owed by the time we spoke that evening. I never went back. And when my placement agency called and tried to upbraid me for unprofessional behavior, I told him to never ever send me to a company that was actively ripping off and trying to kill their clients.
I worked for Blue Cross for about 6 months and then I found out they had a coverage denial group. They looked for any and every way to deny large claims, so mostly people in traumatic and catastrophic situations and cancers. They touted themselves as being non-profit, while the CEO made millions a year and came to the office in a effing helicopter. F health insurance companies.
Amway.
I am a little biased since I just saw Dark Waters but DuPont.
I haven't seen the film but I work with PFAS contamination and can tell PFAS is going to be a major issue in years to come. My workplace is investing heavily in educating us on the chemicals and how to monitor and remediate them. It's so common that I have to check what kind of clothes I wear before working on site. A single drop from one of my coats completely contaminated LS a sample.
Most fast fashion brands. Child labor, wasting horrible amount of water while polluting it, burning or throwing the unsold clothes into the ocean, etc.
I can't help but thinking that all mainstream products in the world are built on top of suffering, and that anything remotely ethical is just extremely expensive and scarce.
The 3 credit bureaus, TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax. Your ability to get loans for cars, houses, etc. depends on your credit history they collect, but they are notorious for having mistakes as a result of fraud or otherwise, and customer service that's so terrible that it is sometimes impossible to correct mistakes in your credit history record. Plus, in 2017, Equifax had the personal information data breach that included social security numbers and is the reason it's recommended that you get your credit history frozen. Now, if you want to apply for a loan, you have to go through the hassle of unfreezing your credit history first at all 3 credit bureaus. At one time, they charged you to do this. I'm not sure if it's true, but I heard that each company has stakes in the other 2, so they are basically trying to financially benefit from the data breach. I don't use the word hate very much, but edit, thanks for all the upvotes everyone. I wanted to clarify, it seems a common misconception. When I refer to freezing, I'm referring to your credit history, not your score. Your history continues to build and your score continues to change accordingly as you pay or not pay your bills, apply for credit cards, and loans, regardless of whether it's frozen or not. When your history is frozen, nobody, including you, can use it to apply for a loan, mortgage, or a credit card. These are called hard pulls of your credit score, which can negatively affect your score when performed, especially multiple times in a short time period. Lenders find it to be risky behavior, so the bureaus dock your score. Soft pulls of your credit score, like when you check your score on a website or app, don't affect your credit score. I'm not a financial professional, so make sure to take my words for what they are, but I recommend that everyone freeze their credit history at all 3 bureaus ASAP. That way nobody can use your personal info to apply for things that can affect your credit score. Then, thaw it only during the time period people need to do hard pulls from it, then freeze it again. This all can be done online, if you're lucky. But, we are all at the mercy of 3 for-profit companies to care for our precious credit history and personal information, and they have done an awful job at it this far, impacting people's lives in terrible ways, as commentators have made it clear.
The fact that Equifax still exists after that is criminal. Pretty much every adult in the United States had all of their info leaked.
Lots of good examples here. Find it interesting that nobody mentioned McKinsey, which advises most of these firms on their corporate strategy.
Chiquita bananas, I'm not sure if they're that evil currently, but they have a really bad history of killing protesting workers, starting wars and supporting terrorist organizations. Link.
The term "banana republic" came from their relations with nations like Honduras. Link. J&J knew for decades that asbestos lurked in its baby powder. Edit. Link. Dopesick focuses on the epicenter of America's struggle with opioid addiction across the US, and specifically the DeOxyContin. Good 8 EP series about one of the most evil company. I checked some of the stuff they did because it was unreal to me. I was just naive. Link.
Scroll this far just to find J&J mentioned. It was unbelievable how long they kept this under wraps despite reports from way earlier regarding how carcinogenic their powder was turning out to be. Especially increasing incidence of ovarian cancer in women.
Purdue Pharma. OxyContin is still killing people. But hey, bonuses for selling by the milligram. Evil.
Heroin addict here who started using as a result of doctors peddling OxyContin like it was candy. I have lost track of how many of my friends are dead at this point, but I can count the ones still alive on one hand. This is my answer as well.
Nike is the largest slave labor company in the world.
Joja ruins small businesses and destroys the sense of community in rural towns.
And their cola sucks.
All the companies who are gobbling up real estate so they can rent the houses out for insane rates while also neglecting their landlord responsibilities.
Let's look at what happened with Zillow last week. Bought 6,000 houses by paying too much for them.
It's probably some little-known company that isn't high-profile but is basically pure slavery while supplying the bigger companies that we actually know about.
I'd also nominate security contractor companies that supply death squads and death squad training to dictators around the world. What they do is often technically illegal in the countries they're based in, but enforcement just doesn't happen as long as they're assisting governments their home government supports.
Nestlé is pretty bad, charging African villages for water.
The far worse thing that they did was give milk formula to poor African women for free just long enough for them to stop producing milk, and then start charging them for the formula. Tricking them into giving up something they produce naturally and then charging them to save their babies.
I mean, Church of Scientology is pretty sketchy.
I was stationed in San Diego and some friends and I went up to Los Angeles for a weekend trip. Decided to walk the Hollywood Boulevard and see what there was to see. We came across the Church of Scientology and they have their criers outside with pamphlets and stuff. One of my friends got suckered into a conversation and was pulled into the church. I wanted nothing to do with it and stayed outside with my other 2 friends. Well, 20 minutes went by and she wasn't answering her phone and we were getting worried. Initially their guard at the door wouldn't let us in, but one of the criers had seen her with our group and knew we were with her. We had to pretend we wanted to see the church with her, and I made up some bullpoo that the architecture was intriguing and I was interested in seeing more. We had to sign forms that we wouldn't film etc. just to get to her, and we had to have an escort. Their demeanor was threateningly polite, if that makes any sense. Just eerily formal. We get in there just to get her out and she give us this terrified look. She later said the lady escorting her would cut her off or redirect whenever she asked to leave. At the time my friends and I were some young beefy Marines and we had to slightly throw our weight around to make it back to the door. It was as cult-y as they are portrayed as.
Nestle, link.
Wow, that's effed up.
Wells Fargo. Nestlé, literally trying to steal all water and sell it back at a huge profit, along with basically owning slaves. They are just straight up evil.
Facebook. They knowingly created an algorithm that boosted content with angry reactions, which in turn disseminated misinformation that has cost lives, and created divisions between people, our friends and family. Whatever controversial view Uncle Bob held is being shoved right in our faces. They have perpetuated the process of dividing us between young and old, rich and poor, black and white, left and right, liberal and conservative. And they did it all because more clicks equals more money in their pockets. F Facebook.
Thank you for watching. We upload new videos every day, so be sure to come back for more fun. Please consider liking and subscribing if you enjoyed the video.